welcome back to Tea and a Butty with me, Dominic.
I just really cannot take the way you go. And welcome back. Anyway,
Well-
I'm Erica.
She's Erica, who laughs at my introductions all the time. Maybe you can do it better.
You just crack me up every time.
Yes.
It's very entertaining, though.
Very entertaining for you
For me.
and for everyone at home, too.
I hope
Or wherever you happen to be listening to this podcast.
Yes.
This podcast, or this episode of this podcast, is about soaps.
Episode 4 of the TV series.
Episode 4 of the TV series.
But before we get started on this, though, we were talking to somebody on Instagram, I think it was. And we said, oh, we've got a TV series coming up. And they were like, oh, wow,
Yep.
congratulations.
We've got a TV series coming up. She's like, oh, wow, you've been the big time now.
You're really doing
Really
it.
doing it. What channel's it on? It was like, oh, it's just a series about TV.
Yes.
About TV series.
I thought that was funny. We should
Yeah.
just mention that anyway.
But if there's any producers out there that want to give us our own TV
Right.
series, come at us.
Or radio.
At me.
Radio.
Or
like Sirius satellite radio or something.
Sirius Satellite. Yeah, if we could get our own Sirius
That-
show,
that
that would
would
be
be
great. You could listen to us everywhere then.
Yeah.
We'd never be out of...
They can listen.
Syndication.
You can listen to us everywhere now, though.
Yeah, you can.
Somebody could be out walking their dog right this second, listening to us.
Hopefully.
We might sound a little better on Sirius, though. I think.
Yeah, I think we'll have better equipment anyway.
Yeah.
Better microphone, because this old thing. But anyway.
Anyway, episode 4
Episode 4 of the TV
of our TV series.
Which is, you can't really see us, but whatever. This is all about soap operas.
Yeah.
Soaps in Britain and the US.
Mhm.
And shall we kick off with the American ones first? Shall we change it up a bit? Because we're always kicking off with British things, and I'm
Yeah.
always rambling on.
Yeah. Are you? I feel like I'm doing the same. Yeah, sure. I think
Let's pull up the notes, shall we? Let's refer to the notes,
Well,
everybody.
First, I think we should talk about how soaps over here differ from in the UK. I think that the biggest way that they differ is that they come on during the day over here, for the most part. Whereas in the UK, they are prime time. Yeah, it's prime time viewing.
That's...
But it still comes on every day in the UK, though, doesn't it?
I'm not sure about that. My mother, God rest her soul, she was a huge fan of all the major soaps. She watched them all. She watched EastEnders, which was on BBC One. She watched Coronation Street, which was on ITV. She watched Emmerdale, which was also on ITV, and she watched Brookside, which was a Channel 4 soap. She watched pretty much all of them. And she watched all the American ones too, like Falcon Crest and all that.
Because, of course, all of our television...
All of you. Because, it's
airs
funny,
in
she watched
Britain.
dallas and Dynasty, all of those were the two big ones, who shot
yeah.
JR and everything.
Yeah.
They were big ones. Falcon Crest, I never knew she watched that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was before my time, before I was alive, I think, so,
Mhm.
But yeah, she watched all of them. But, of course, the big ones were Coronation Street, Emmerdale,
Yeah.
EastEnders.
We don't,
In Britain.
we don't really, I cannot profess to be an expert on soaps. There was a time period in my life where I think I was a teenager and I watched, Days of Our Lives for like, I don't know, three or 4 years maybe, when I could, but soaps over here come on during the day. So, and then after that, I think it was after that, there was a soap called Passions for a while. It was very short lived. But it was a bunch of young people, so it was more appealing to me,
Yeah, that's kind of like in the UK, they've got this soap called Hollyoaks, which is all young people.
And is that daily?
I think it's daily, yeah.
Because
I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't lived there for a long time, so I'm not really keeping up. And also my soap knowledge of all the major ones, the big three, as I like to call EastEnders, Coronation Street, and Emmerdale.
Yeah.
Which are ones that are still on the air. I have no idea what's going on in them now. I have no idea if
Well, yeah.
when I was a kid, I could obviously tell you what I remember from
The main
watching them. The main
characters
characters and all the big
yeah.
plot lines and everything like that, you know, but now, you know.
I remember, soaps over here can be so ridiculous. I think I've
they
read...
were ridiculous in the UK,
Well, I've read online that the ones in the UK are a bit more believable. Like, they're a bit more gritty. They're a bit more, like genuine drama, whereas over here, oh my god, they can get so ridiculous. I remember one plot line when I was young about Marlena on Days of Our Lives, and she became possessed by, I don't know, the devil, I guess. I can't remember. And her eyes would go red and everything. And she became like evil Marlena. And it was just, I remember at the time, like, why in God's name am I watching this? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
With soap operas in America, I think that the general cliche is a plot line involving a woman who doesn't know who the baby is, if it's her husband's or her husband's twin brother. You know?
Evil twin brother.
Evil twin brother. You know, and it's like that. I think that made it over to the UK, that kind of stereotype about American soaps, is like they were that ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of that, we had this show called Soap in the 80s, I want to say. I mean,
with Billy Crystal.
I was very little. Yeah, it may have started in the 70s. I don't really know. Billy Crystal. It had a really good cast, and it was very hilarious. It was a spoof, obviously, of soaps, and it was very funny. But it was basically all of that, you know, like, all the cliches. Yeah. We don't really do nighttime soap operas anymore. I mean, we have dramas. Like, I guess you could argue that something like Desperate Housewives, when it was on air, was a bit like a soap opera.
Yeah, it's like a drama, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, melodrama is what you would call Coronation Street and whatever, you know?
Again, when I was a teenager, there were a lot of, like, teen dramas that people were, like, going, teen soap operas, like Dawson's Creek The OC, a little bit later than that, and I don't know. One Tree Hill, all of those kinds of things. I don't know. I cannot think of anything that you would consider a soap that airs in the evening now. All of our soaps are daytime and mostly always have been. I mean, except for, like you mentioned, Dallas and Dynasty and all of that kind of stuff. Soaps over here have always been, to me, like a jumping off point for actors and actresses.
Yeah, and it's not so much in the UK. Everyone who was in a soap in the UK, I can't think of anyone who really, like, made it huge. Oh, I don't know if you know Anna Friel.
I don't know.
She was in Love Actually.
Okay.
Small role, but I think she went on to do something else. Well, I'm sure. Maybe that's. I
think you mentioned some people from Downton Abbey have been in soaps, though.
Oh yeah. There you go. The guy who plays Thomas. He was in Coronation Street for a while.
Okay, yeah.
As was who played Bates's wife. What's her name?
Mrs. Bates.
Mrs. Bates.
Oh, yeah.
Anna. That's it. She was in
in
Coronation Street too.
I thought you meant actual Mrs.
And there was
Bates
and there was a couple
came
of
back and was evil or something.
No, Anna.
Okay,
yeah, Anna. That's her name.
The lady's maid.
The lady's maid. Yeah, she was in Coronation Street too, and also a couple of other, like, guest stars. They were usually on Emmerdale because it was Yorkshire. That's where Emmerdale's set. So,
well, you can see why it would be like really good training, I think, because they film daily.
Yeah.
And it's every day, every week, and it's just like, that's going to be really good practice for memorizing scripts and just like sinking your teeth into the drama of it all, you know? It's like, I was flipping through this. Like I said, I don't really have much experience in soaps. I think I remember I had one grandma who religiously watched One Life to Live and General Hospital.
Yeah.
Which I was little, I was a kid, I was not paying attention.
Yeah.
And then I had another grandma who religiously watched Another World, I think it was, and Days of Our Lives. And so that's the one that I started getting into Days of Our Lives for a period, like as a teenager. But other than that, I don't really know a lot about plot lines or even I mean, I'm flipping through this site, and it's really amazing to see some of the people that started off in soaps, and also so many of these soaps that I've never even heard of. So I'm just gonna go through this little list that I found on TV Insider. So you have something like Ryan's Hope, which I think I have. Yeah. I think I have heard of it.
I think Kate Mulgrew was on that. That's how I've heard of it. Because Kate Mulgrew was obviously Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager.
Okay, yeah.
And so that was after she was on Ryan's Hope.
Right.
And, you know, that's...
I want to say it was like a hospital.
I thought it was like because she's Irish.
Okay, I have no
Kate
idea.
Mulgrew. So it's like it's like an Irish-American family or something.
Apparently Christian Slater and Marg Helgenberger were on that one, and it ran for 13 seasons from 75 to 89. And then you have The Doctors, which ran from 1963 to 1982 and had people like Alec Baldwin, Ted Danson, Kathy Bates. Another one is Love of Life. I mean, guys, if any of you listening have any idea what any of these soap operas are, like if you are a little bit older and you can remember these soap operas, please comment or tweet us or Facebook us.
Yeah, if you have any good memories of them. Because, I mean, people, like, they know over here, they might remember soaps and stuff. But as you said, they came on in the day. In Britain, it's far more likely that people would remember a soap opera or a character from a soap opera because it comes on in prime time.
Yeah, yeah.
In Britain. And it's like, I do. I mean, I could rattle off a few from all the big three, you know.
Well, in the 80s... I think starting in the 80s, because you had VHS tapes, people would set their VCRs to record the soaps. Oh, yes,
my mother would do that all the time.
Yeah, that way you could come home and then watch them in the evenings or catch up on the weekend or whatever. Can you imagine? That's like the early version of binging.
The funny thing is, right, in Britain there used to be this thing called an omnibus.
Okay.
And basically what it would be is, I don't know if it still is actually, if you'd missed all the episodes of like Coronation Street or EastEnders or Emmerdale that week, it would come on like a Friday or a Saturday or maybe even a Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
And it would be all of them digested. It would be like 1 hour long episode, and they call it an omnibus.
Oh, really?
You know?
Hour long. So how
like
long?
hour long or 2 hours long or whatever it was. You know
how long are soaps in Britain?
I think they're about 30 minutes.
Oh, really?
I'm not
so
too sure
here
on that.
They're an hour, yeah. It's like a whole hour.
I think it's like 30 minutes in the UK, as I remember.
It's so funny, though, because...
Might be long. I mean, obviously they have like hour-long episodes, like the special episode where there's a plane crash or whatever. You know,
I just felt like when I watched them that not a whole lot happens day to day. Because what they do over here is they'll catch you up with what's been going on.
Oh, yeah.
So, whatever happened in the last 15 or 20 minutes of the previous day, they'll spend 15 or 20 minutes going, oh, so, whatever. And they're, rehashing it. Like, if you watch soaps, surely you watch it every day. Like, that is such a waste of time. Yeah, you wouldn't just come in at one episode, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
The Edge of Night ran for 28 seasons, 56 to 84, and Julianne Moore was in it. John Travolta, Marsha Cross, and Lori Loughlin, who's a very bad girl. She's very naughty.
Lori Loughlin?
Yes.
Yeah, she knows.
She's recently gotten into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's a good soap storyline.
She's doing her own soap. She's
created her own soap.
The Bold and the Beautiful, which still is on the air, is it? I don't remember.
Oh, I think I've seen it over here, yeah.
Okay, it says it started in 1987, has run for 32 seasons. I don't know where that comes on. I don't remember, seeing that. I mean, I've heard of it, obviously, but it's still on the air? I didn't know that. 32 seasons. This doesn't tell me anybody that famous that's come out of it. I'm sure there has been. Another World, I mentioned one of my grandmother's favorites. That ran from 64 to 1999. And Brad Pitt was on that one, apparently. I don't recall that, but there have been a lot of handsome people that have come out, men and women.
Yes.
Like fairly attractive people.
Because over in Britain, no one who's on a soap is very attractive. It's like the most attractive people don't bother with soaps. They come straight from theatre and they're picked straight to go into movies. You know, like Hugh Grant never was on a soap. I don't think he was anyway. You know, and whoever else you can think of. Aidan Turner, I don't think he was on a soap.
Yeah.
Before. He might have been. He might have been in Fair City, actually.
Really?
Which is an Irish soap. Someone will have to confirm that for me, though. Of course.
Yeah, I remember when I was little and Full House came on and Uncle Jesse was like the big thing and everybody was like, oh God, he's so gorgeous. And my mom was like, oh yeah, he's from whatever. I can't remember what soap. I'm sure this list knows, but yeah, he was on
Days of Our Lives.
He was whoever on some soap. Search for Tomorrow, 35 seasons from 1951 to 1986, and Jane Krakowski was apparently a long-running character on that show, which is hilarious because then she came on, Ally McBeal or something like that, and I think most people were like, oh, you know, she's new. All My Children, 41 seasons, All My Children ran from 1970 to 2011, and Erica Kane was the star of that one, and also the person that I'm named after. I don't know.
You were going to admit that, were you?
Yeah, I'll say that. Susan Lucci, she's like a big soap star over here. She was the soap star. She was on that show forever, and my mom just liked that name, and that's who I'm named after. So
Erica Kane.
A little bit of trivia for you there.
A little bit of tea and a Butty trivia there.
We'll be quizzing you all later. The next
no,
one
we won't.
is One Life to Live, 45 seasons, 1968 to 2012. I watched that one just a little bit. The Young and the Restless, 46 seasons. It's still on the air, ran from 1973 till now.
I think a few famous faces came out of that. I know David Hasselhoff came out of that.
Oh, The Young and the Restless?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. General Hospitals run for 56 seasons from 63, and it's still going. I think that is probably the most popular soap that's on air right now.
Yes. A few people on Twitter I've seen talking about.
Yeah. And then the longest running one, I guess, that we had was Guiding Light, which I wouldn't have thought of, but it ran for 57 seasons from 1952 to 2009. And they just canceled it off because of shrinking ratings, probably because of The Real Housewives, if I were guessing.
Yeah. That's
all the American soaps.
Yeah, I mean,
that's basically
Dallas and Dynasty weren't mentioned on those. I mean,
no, because those are just the daytime ones.
Yeah. Dallas and Dynasty were primetime, weren't they? That's that's why they're so much bigger.
And
I think.
You know, I don't know. I guess they were considered soaps at the
All
time.
My Children and Passion.
But to me, a soap comes on every single day.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Dallas and Dynasty. I think they were just weekly.
It was like weekly kind of things.
I think they were just dramas before that type of drama existed, and so they classified it like as a soap. But Anyway, so that's the American side of things.
That's the American side of things. There's a lot of soaps over here.
Yes.
I mean...
Too many, really. I mean...
yeah, I mean, in Britain, there was too. I mean, you know... But as I said, like, the big ones are EastEnders, Coronation Street, and Emmerdale. Coronation Street is the longest running soap in the world.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah.
It's been running since 1960, so it's in its 59th season. It's set in Manchester in this fictional place called Weatherfield.
Okay.
It's basically just one. It's on a street called Coronation Street, you know, and they've got a setting on Weatherfield is the suburb of Manchester.
Okay, right.
And the longest serving character and actor, I think, in a soap, he's been in it since day one. Ken Barlow is the character and William Roach is the actor. Mm-hmm. He's been in it. He's still in it, you know. He grew up on. He was like 20 when it started.
That's crazy.
And
well, you said you don't really know of actors who have gone on to do bigger things. So
no, not really. I mean, you know, you have the ones who are like the teen idols, you know, like the young kids who come on Coronation Street and all the girls fancy them.
Yeah.
and they think, oh, I'm going to release a single and become a pop star. I seem to remember a few of them tried to do that, and it never really worked out.
Because sometimes
I'm trying to think of someone who became mega famous after being in, I mean, it's only really Downton Abbey. Someone out there will say, oh, yeah, so-and-so, yeah, because I just can't think of them off the top of my head now. EastEnders, that's another one. That's been going since 1985. And they've got the Queen Vic there, and it's set in Walford, which is a fictional East End borough of London, Okay, yeah. Get out my pub. Barbara Windsor was in it as Peggy Mitchell.
Yeah.
She played the Mitchell brothers' mother.
Okay, yeah.
And she owned the Queen Vic for years. Doc Cotton was a long-running character. Dirty Den. Nick Cotton was Doc Cotton's son. He was a terrible son. He was always trying to, he was a real bad guy. He played George Harrison in The Birth of the Beatles.
Ah, Beatles reference.
Beatles reference, there we go. And funnily enough, the Beatles were going to be on Coronation Street.
Really?
In 1963.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when they were at the height of their fame,
That's funny.
Before they lost it all. And
Because
no one knew who they were anymore.
Close enough to live.
And I think they wanted to do it too, the
Really?
Beatles, because Coronation Street, it only been going 3 years, but it was already massively popular because it was gritty. It was like a reflection of what actually was going on.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's not so much. There's it's the usual kitchen sink kind of Kevin and Sally Webster. Baby mama drama and all that kind of stuff and what's going on. I mean, who's cheating on who and whatever, Ken and Mike Baldwin. That's where, no you don't, Mike! No you don't! Comes from, because he died. As I said, EastEnders, that's another one that, Grant and Phil Mitchell,
Yeah.
Really East End gassers, don't even think about it,
So Barbara Windsor went from the Carry On.
Yeah, it was
straight to EastEnders.
Almost. It was a few years afterwards. Yeah, it was 20 years or so.
That's funny.
Emmerdale.
Has anybody else gone from being a? Okay, I need to reword that. I don't want to. I was going to say from being a real actor to go into soaps.
Real actor to go into soaps. Ian McKellen.
Oh, really?
He requested a role on Coronation Street.
That's hilarious.
It's funny because once we were talking about this down the pub, we were like, oh yeah, people want to be on it now because it's been going so long.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart had
a part of history.
Patrick Stewart had a tiny role in a 1967 episode of Coronation Street.
Yeah.
He played a fireman.
People...
And it's people have had, people have had tiny roles in it.
Oh, yeah, I think that happens over here.
Yeah.
People want to have just a little walk-on role.
A little walk-on role. But Ian McKellen played a major character, I think, for a while.
Really?
Yeah, he had a story arc. He played a con man or something, and he really loved it because he wanted to be on it,
That is so great. That's really cool. I love Ian McKellen.
Another one is, the big one that I remember as a kid was Emmerdale. That's still going. That's been going since 1972. It's set in Yorkshire. It's set in Yorkshire, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But it was called Emmerdale Farm up until 1989.
Yeah, sounds like a brand of cheese.
Yeah. The village they lived in was called Beckendale.
Okay.
Until 1994 when, because
it wasn't called Emmerdale?
It wasn't called Emmerdale. Emmerdale was the farm.
Okay.
And it was centered around the farm and the Sugden family, and of course there was another couple of families and stuff all the way through. But then in the early 90s, ratings were kind of going.
Oh, yeah.
So they decided to pull off this huge storyline with this plane crash. And this plane, it destroyed all the village. I remember it as a kid. It was what is going on here? It was this plane crash. This plane crashed.
Show's killed.
Pretty much most of the people were killed. The whole village was destroyed. I mean, not everybody. I mean, it was just they were just kind of oh, this is a good way to cut out the dead wood, and destroy the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Anybody who's my age will remember the Emmerdale plane crash. I think they've had a storm since, and another plane crash on the anniversary of the first plane crash.
Okay, so in America, if that had happened, half of the people that were killed off would come back. They
As
weren't
ghosts.
really dead.
They weren't really dead.
Yeah.
They were actually, you know...
Does that happen in British soaps?
Dirty Den. On EastEnders, it happened.
I thought you were calling me a name.
You are Dirty Den. Leslie Grantham's character was killed off in like the 80s. He was in one of the very first. He was like one of the original characters of EastEnders. Him and Angie, they ran the Queen Vic, and you know their Christmas Day episode where he wanted to divorce his wife was like watched by the whole country in 1985 or 1987 or whatever it was. And then he was killed off. It was kind of like a weak death as well. He was like shot or something, and you know they buried him and all that. And then like 20 years later, he returned and he wasn't really dead. And it was like, you know, don't know what happened there. You know, it was really weird.
that was weird.
And then they killed him off again.
Oh my god!
And he's not coming back because the actor's dead now too.
Oh, oh no! But in America, they'll die.
The actor will come back from the dead, won't he?
No, the character will come back and it'll be played by somebody else. Sometimes
didn't that happen in Dallas?
Oh, I don't know.
Didn't Bobby Ewing or something have like a dream that someone was dead and he actually wasn't dead?
Oh god.
Or someone had a dream and it was all a dream.
They come back all the time. Like, I don't know if the actor's just like on vacation or what, you know. All of a sudden the character will come on screen and they'll say the character of, I don't know if they still do this because I haven't watched soaps in a long time, but you'll hear this voice like will go, the character of Dominic Williams is now played by Jon Snow. Is going
No, they don't do that
in
America. Do they clap when people come on?
No, it's not. I don't think it's filmed live.
Yeah, because, you know, that's another thing people make fun of American shows in Britain. You know, a character comes on, everyone goes, whoa, yeah, whoa!
No. So soaps don't have an audience. I don't think they're filmed before an audience.
This soap is filmed before a live television audience.
And there's no laugh track.
Live studio audience. But yeah, you know, the original focal point on Emmerdale was the farm. Then it was like wider with the village and everybody else, and of course the plane crash was. I doing research. Really I watched a clip of it, and I was just like, "What is going on?" I remember this so well, you know, because me and my mother watched it because my mother was like, "It's the plane crash tonight, Dominic. We're going to watch this." You know, so it's the plane crash. It's the plane crash. What's going to happen? And there was like a huge aftermath. I remember like Chris Tate was like paralyzed from it. One of the characters.
Oh yeah.
A couple of people died. Seth Armstrong though, he survived. He was like a pub kind of like a Norm type guy.
Oh
he had big bushy beard and everything. And people my age will remember this. I mean, you know. And I think there's still young people watching Emmerdale now, you know. It's still going, you know.
It's still on, yeah.
Yeah. Other ones like Brookside, that was set in Liverpool.
Yeah.
That was like started in the 80s, I think 1982 it started.
Yeah.
And it finished in like 2003.
So
and my mother watched that, you know, Jimmy Corkill. Oh, they were, you know, bunch of Scousers living on Brookside Close.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad hated soaps. He was like, "Oh, I don't want to watch that crap." Blah 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 blah. Now he watches Coronation Street. He goes, "Yeah, I love Corrie now," and I'm like, "Oh, do you now?" Hated it before. Another one, Family Affairs. Idris Elba got his start on that. So there we go.
There you go. Yeah.
That was a Channel 5 one, though. Idris Elba was on that. So there you go. There's one famous person who got their start on Family Affairs. Take the High Road was a Scottish one. I think David Tennant might have been on it.
Oh, really?
At one point. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let us know.
Let us know, David.
Yeah.
Another one, which is quite funny, I remember watching when it came out, was El Dorado. And if people my age like had parents who watched soaps, you remember how much of a big buzz that was in the early 90s. BBC would go, this El Dorado is about expats in Spain.
Yeah.
And it ran for like one...
I think you mentioned that when we went to Spain. You were like, it looks like El Dorado.
Because
like...
it was filmed there.
Yeah.
I just did that's where they filmed it.
That's funny.
In Coen, where my dad lives now.
Really?
Yeah, most of it was filmed there. And in Marbella. And all around that region, but it flopped majorly. No one really cared about it. And the acting was terrible. They had people like Spanish actors, and they had a couple of other actors who just weren't It was just terrible. And they had like big names like Jesse Birdsall in it. And he's a pretty big actor, he was in Britain anyway.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, yeah, this isn't really working. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
And, there wasn't because they were filming on location all the time because they were over there. The sound wasn't very good. It was just, it was just a really, really crap soap. And the storylines were crap too, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but of course, it's like it's become a cult favorite now because it's like, it was so bad it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was filmed in Cohen, and I was like, God, this looks like El Dorado.
Yeah, yeah, I remember you saying that. I noticed one you don't have on the list that you've mentioned before, Hollyoaks.
Hollyoaks, yeah, I mentioned that. That's Channel 4. I think it was made by the same person who made Brookside, Phil Redmond. Yeah. I never watched it. It was too young. My mother wasn't really into it. I think it started in like the mid-90s, maybe.
It's still going?
I think it's still going, yeah.
So how many of these are still going? Just
all of them, the big three, the big three as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Family Affairs isn't going. Take the High Road ended in 2003. That was another one. Yeah, I mean Coronation Street, EastEnders, and Emmerdale, they've just weathered the storm. They're never going to go away. I don't think. I think we're going to see Coronation Street reach its 100 mark, 100 years. I mean, it'll be like a shock if they ditch it,
Yeah.
Something's major gonna happen, like a big plane crash.
Yeah. Do you listen to soaps?
Or watch them?
Yeah.
Do you listen or watch soaps?
Do you listen to soaps? Do you, well, some people might listen to them while they're doing other things around the house.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I said, like
if
growing up...
If you were just listening, though, you would miss Marlena's red eyes when she becomes possessed. That's something to see for sure. No, if you watch soaps, let us know in the comments or tweet or Facebook us, and also let us know which ones are your favorites, or or if either of us missed out any that you can remember.
Yeah,
let
if you
us
can
know.
remember.
Yeah, British or American.
Like there's talking about daytime soaps in Britain. Mm-hmm. Doctors is one I remember. My dad watched that. I'm gonna go home now and watch Doctors. I'm like, who are you? When did you turn into this man who watched Coronation Street and Doctors? Used to hate soaps. Used to bloody hate them.
Oh God, you'll be watching them one day.
Well, I was. I've already watched them when I was a kid. I bloody know everything about them.
You watch The Housewives with me. You're
I watch bloody Vanderpump Rules with you. It's not about the pasta.
It's not about the pasta.
But yes,
oh my God. We've run it into the ground.
We've run it into the ground now, talking about soaps.
We really have.
And yeah.
If anyone's still listening, we really appreciate you.
Yes, because this has become like a soap opera now.
Yes.
I'm just waiting for a plane to crash and take us all out. I'm going to show Erica that now. I'm going to show Erica now because that was so ridiculous. It was like they no expense spared. Everything was blowing up.
It does sound ridiculous.
And it was
it sounds horrific.
I mean, you weren't seeing everybody like go whoa. You just seen everything explode and whoosh, and it's just like, what is going on?
Oh my God! All right, I think our time is up.
Time's up. Time is up.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, buy us a coffee. If you enjoyed this content.
Tweet us or Instagram us.
Tweet us, Instagram us, TBuddy.
Yeah, TinaBuddy.com.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.